Hello and good morning everybody, Ryan here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to more Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm not waiting outside Nook's Cranny for anything in particular. It's just that they're the only building on my island currently that has a small Christmas tree for this intro, so I figured I'd go ahead and start it here. But anyways, welcome back everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on Acorn. Wanted to show you all what I have currently going on here on the island as we continue to build it from the ground up. I've now completely flattened everything, as you can see here on the map, and I even started the outline for what I think is going to be a nice, cool little acorn style lake. I haven't fully decided whether or not I want to keep the lake there or move it to a different location. I really just needed a big open space to try out the layout and the design of the acorn, and it took me a little over an hour to get it to where I wanted it to. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. So I think I'm going to go with the design if I can find it up here. Here it is. Something very straightforward, something very simple. But I think that when you look at it on the overall map, it looks great. There is an argument to keep it here, quite simply because it did take me so long to get it to this point. But once I start decorating everything, we'll see whether or not that stands. But thank you so much for joining me today. As you can see by the title of this video, I wanted to take care of a few things on this island this morning, things that I'm still working on. And in addition to that, I wanted to talk about a topic that has been, I guess it really depends on whether or not you are into the whole Twitter world or social media world of Animal Crossing New Horizons. But as you can see by the title of this video, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, or the big thing I wanted to talk about in this video, was Animal Crossing New Horizons modding, and also kind of just give my opinion on it, and kind of explain why I won't be modding my gameplay of Animal Crossing New Horizons anytime soon, or at all. I do need to move my home though before I get started. That's one of the biggest things. As you can see, I started placing a path on the outside of the entire island. I have decided to go ahead and just get back into using the custom design pathing that I used on Diamond before. I will probably change it as the seasons go on, or if I find something a lot cooler to match the theme that I'm going for, which a lot of people have been asking me about as well too. What is the theme of this island? The theme currently is still really no theme. I'm taking the principles that I did when I designed my first island, which is to simply just I think I really like doing pathing, and I think I really like doing waterscaping. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, like I did before, just start randomly placing things down and building up around that. I do still think the idea of doing tree houses for all the acorn, or not the acorn, the acorn villagers is really cool, especially with the inclusion of things like permanent vines and ladders. So I'll probably be working on a blueprint of that sometime in the future as well too. I'm sure this is not the first time someone's ever thought of this idea, of course, but I try not to look up too many people's ideas on my own, because I find that sometimes that can lead to me not really feeling like I'm creating my own thing, and more so that I'm copying someone else, and that's never a great feeling when I'm doing something. So yeah, so I'm going to move my home, but onto ACNH modding. So for those that are not familiar with the whole ACNH modding community, or what's currently going on, I guess, in that particular world, a lot of people have been taking to creating their own Animal Crossing New Horizons mods. And the mods can be, at this point, it feels like the mods are kind of just whatever people are imagining. A lot of people are taking some of the items from Pocket Camp and putting them into the game. People are creating varied colored items that could never be colored before. People are modding the game to make it so that certain buildings or certain items can be placed certain locations that they can't before. But generally what you're finding is a lot of people are creating a lot of items that they're then putting into the game. Now, if you're not familiar with how to mod ACNH, unfortunately, it's not as easy as modding on a PC, something like Stardew Valley. Unfortunately, if you want to mod Animal Crossing New Horizons, you are, if I know correctly, going to have to mod your entire Nintendo Switch. You know, there's obviously a lot of gray area there in regards to what that does for things like warranty, and what happens if it breaks, and what happens if it's broken. What do you do about it? And that's unfortunately kind of just the gamble that you take whenever you do something like this. So if you do plan on modding your Animal Crossing game in the future, just know that it does require modding your entire system, and a lot of people may not want to do that once they find out that that's what it takes. But Yeah, so a lot of people are doing that lately, and one thing that I've noticed, and it's kind of the reason why I've stopped really paying attention to Animal Crossing Twitter or Instagram, or really New Horizons social media presence whatsoever, if it's not from the main Nintendo account. A lot of people are introducing mods into this game and it feels like almost like protests. And I don't know if that's necessarily the motivation, but it just seems like that is the reason why a lot of people are modding their Switches at this point. A lot of people seem to be very unhappy with the fact that Nintendo has taken a pretty firm stance that they won't be updating this game majorly in the future, yet they'll be upgrading things like Pocket Camp with crazy items. I do still see some of the crazy items that Pocket Camp gets in comparison to New Horizons, and you know, don't get me wrong, I can totally see the frustration. New Horizons is a for me much better game than Pocket Camp. I've tried to download Pocket Camp over and over again to try and get back into it, and despite my view that it might as well just be just a different version of a Game Boy Color, but it's like the modern day version of a Game Boy Color, I just can't, for whatever reason, play it as long as I played New Horizons. I do need to move my campsite as well too. Won't be able to do that today. Oh man, as you can see, I've flattened everything out completely, so my island looks insanely huge. I tried to keep these trees a while ago, but I think I am going to go ahead and just get rid of them all. I think if I want more trees, I can simply just plant more, so no problem. Plus, more Nook Miles that way if I'm able to do that. But yeah, so what I've seen lately is that people are just simply making mods for this game, like I said, as a protest to Nintendo not updating this game. And I think that what's really strange about the whole Animal Crossing New Horizons modding thing is, for those of us that have, you know, been a big part of this game's lifespan since basically it came out back in 2020, modding is not new to this game. In fact, modding is something that was kind of introduced back in 2020 when the game first came out. A lot of people wanted to do various things in the game that the game had limitations on, and so people were modding it. They were modding their cameras, they were modding items and bridges, and they weren't necessarily bringing things in, or at least in the beginning. They eventually started bringing things in with things like star fragment trees. But yeah, so this is not the first time modding has been introduced to New Horizons. It's just now been seeing a resurgence. But what I'm noticing that I think is quite funny is that the resurgence is not, as far as I can tell, it's not getting the same type of treatment that modding got the very first time that New Horizons came out. And there, you know, I'm not trying to pick a side here. I'm more or less just kind of giving information to those who have been missing out, and also just kind of giving more or less observations of things that I've noticed. But in the beginning, I noticed that anybody who modded Animal Crossing New Horizons was basically, well, I don't like to really use the word canceled, but it feels like anybody who modded back then was essentially kind of canceled. And I know that back then there wasn't a lot to do in this game. We were still waiting for all of the updates to come out for this game. And for a while, we were all thinking that once the 2.0 update came out, you know, whenever that was, and if that's even what they were going to call it, then we would be getting what is essentially the completed version of Animal Crossing New Horizons. And now that that time has come and gone, and they've introduced so many different things, and as someone who's recently restarted this game, who now gets so many different announcements, and I still have so many things that I have to unlock on my own. I still don't have the museum. I still have to talk to Harv. I still haven't gone to a single mysterious island. And Happy Home Paradise is still a thing that I have not touched on this particular playthrough. There's so many things to do now, yet I think sometimes we forget a couple of things. If you've been playing this game for a while, of course the new things weren't going to last quite a while. It was going to last only as long as they would be new to you, which, given the nature of how some of us played it, the newness of most of the things in this game lasted maybe longer than a week, or no longer than a week, and then we were already expecting the next thing. So yeah, I just think it's very strange that one thing as well too, I noticed that nobody is doing star fragment trees. where people are hacking in all these different items from Pocket Camp. They're creating their own different items, but I feel like people are voluntarily staying away from star fragment trees because, I don't know, I think sometimes deep down it's like if you start modding star fragment trees, it's like suddenly now being seen as okay, and people are justifying it because Nintendo's not paying attention to this game. But the second thing that people are forgetting as well too is that this is not Nintendo's only thing, you know? This is not the only thing Nintendo is going to be working on. In fact, as a fan of Animal Crossing, I am so pleased with the final result of an island designing game, which is what I've been calling this game since the very beginning. I think truly if you do want an Animal Crossing experience with events and NPCs and daily things to look forward to, I do not think New Horizons is the game for you. Not to say that it can't be that for someone who wants that, but more so just that this game lended itself too much to island designing. And if you are someone who is a fan of Animal Crossing for more of talking to NPCs and seeing random stuff that happens daily on a, you know, a town that you maybe didn't create, maybe don't do an island designer game. Something that I've already started to see happen that people are now doing, which, don't get me wrong, I think it's kind of cool. As someone who has modded Stardew Valley and thinks that there's certainly nothing wrong with mods, I never thought there was anything wrong with modding in this game, to be completely honest with you guys. In fact, the first time that people were up in arms about people modding this game, I was actually incredibly confused. It's not a multiplayer game. What people do on their islands doesn't affect your island. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the amount of ownership that people stake claim on their Animal Crossing island can be a bit extreme sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I understand that it takes time to do all these designs. As someone who's played this game for over 1,000 hours, and you know, my last island took me 500-600 hours to design, I still get questions from people asking if they can copy certain locations that I've created. And if this is any consolation or any indication of how I feel about it, I always say I don't care. My design, while cool, is, you know, I certainly don't stake any claim to it, no ownership. And yeah, so I never really got why people took that so hard. But regardless, now what we're doing is people are they're creating their own basically versions of Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I think is incredibly interesting, and something that I figured was going to happen the moment that people started to make modding of ACNH a little bit more I would say normalized, considering its reception before. So why am I myself not going to clean up some of these flowers? Actually, they're getting a bit out of hand in front of resident services here. Why is it that I am not going to mod my ACNH Switch? Why is it that I don't want all the cool items that people have created for their islands? Why don't I want some of the cool Pocket Camp items that people see? And if I'm like modding Stardew Valley, why is this different? Well, to be completely honest with you, when I mod Stardew Valley, I'm not trying to change the core gameplay loop of Stardew Valley. There are certain mods that you can download that I have since kind of uninstalled from my Stardew Valley playthrough. Things like Chess Anywhere, being able to give you the ability to access your storage from anywhere you want to, is something that removes a core gameplay mechanic of Stardew Valley, which is inventory management. And it's one thing in my mod video for Stardew Valley that I posted that, you know, it's in my essential mod video, but I don't really view it as essential necessarily. I just think that if you're someone who wants to make the game a little bit easier for you, you can certainly download it. But back to New Horizons, if I were to start downloading items from Pocket Camp or downloading different things that allow me to manipulate the character or the models in any way, shape, or form, I feel like at that point I am just like downloading Chess Anywhere on Stardew Valley. I feel like I'm removing the core gameplay mechanics of Animal Crossing New Horizons. I know that I said before that this is deep down a island designing game, but the sequence of how they wanted you to design this island are also pretty heavily, you know, it's kind of out there. They want you to go around and do all the chores. It's the reason why we have Nook Miles Plus with daily bonuses to give you some objectives to do that day. It's the same reason why you would log into any other game that has any sort of daily objectives, and it's just what am I supposed to do that day in order to continue to experience that thing. For me, for Final Fantasy XIV, for example, once you beat the main story, your thing would be to do raids. Your thing would maybe be to do PvP. Maybe not for Final Fantasy XIV. PvP is not that great, but you know what I mean? Like every everything, you just have to find out what the gameplay mechanic is at that particular time. And installing all those things for me, just to simply put them out there, it makes me feel like, well, at that point, why did I not just download Pocket Camp and keep playing Pocket Camp? If I can't play Pocket Camp because of the fact that it's a mobile game, then the fact that I bring the items over here to New Horizons shouldn't really do anything for me all that much. And to be completely honest with you, when I think about the idea of bringing Pocket Camp items over here to New Horizons to try and decorate with it, yeah, I would say that that wouldn't necessarily enhance my gameplay whatsoever. And this probably goes hand in hand as well with the fact that I don't necessarily have a theme that I'm trying to go for on this island as well, to kind of bring everything back to what I was talking about in the very beginning. Not having a theme means that whenever I design something, I simply just either go with what I have and try to build around that, or I look at a very short list of things that are available to me. I can start connecting this lake up maybe. I look at a short list of things that are available to me, and I can start figuring out from there how to design it, rather than, let's say, designing from the outside in. Now, that's not to say, of course, that again, I have a problem with anybody who mods their Switch. And to be completely honest with you, I think that anybody who has a problem with someone modding their own Switch, especially if it's not your Switch that they're modding, and you don't know them, and there's not some weird betting competition where you have to see who designs a better island than the next person, I just think sometimes the amount of, I don't know, the amount of offense that people take when it comes to this game in regards to people designing things sometimes is a bit much. I've never seen, for example, and maybe it just might be what I'm seeing, like me personally, I've never seen people get so, not offended, but they stake so much claim on, for example, their Stardew Valley farm layouts. And again, this is primarily because I'm more of an Animal Crossing creator on this platform than anything. But if that is the case, then certainly I digress. But if not, then yeah, I feel like sometimes Animal Crossing is just a very niche case for that. But yeah, back to the topic one last time. If you want to mod your Switch, again, you know how to do it, or rather you don't know how to do it, you look it up, but it is a process. It isn't as easy as just simply going, I'm going to mod my game. It does require you to mod your console, so good luck to anybody that wants to do it. But I would love to know what you guys think in the comments section down below about ACNH modding at this point, whether or not you participated in it back when the game first came out a couple of years ago, if you're going to participate in it now, yeah, let me know down below. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much for joining me on this, I guess, chores video. I moved my house. That was really the only note I wanted to make, and then I wanted to kind of show you all a little bit of what I've done thus far. But this is another reminder that designing an island does take a while. If by all means, if you're in the process of designing your own island, don't feel like you have to have it completed within the first month or so. Some of them take as long as a year, and that's okay. But thank you so much for sticking with me, everybody, for this journey and this process of completing this island. And every now and again, I'll just throw in these kind of Ryan's rants, Ryan's talky videos. People have made comments and mentions that they do kind of miss these morning chore and chill videos. So yeah, I hope you all are having a wonderful holiday thus far. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you all having a wonderful day, week. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to me ramble. As always, once again, I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this video, want more in the future, fast as well too, be sure to like the video. And if you are new here, want more videos from me in the future, be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on. We'd love to have you here. Thank you guys so much for watching once again and listening. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Happy holidays once again, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.